one of my absolute best friends, one of my absolute favorite people, one of my favorite internet people. She's just, you know her, you love her. Ms. Keri Smith, welcome back to the show.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. This studio is very cool.
Stop. Go on.
It is. It's so professional. I love it. Actually, my husband and I were admiring your wallpaper because we want to do, is this like, what do you call this style?
Smart.
Smart. You just want to touch it.
Intellectual. I don't know. Is it like it's like a brocade? It's like a velvet. Brocade.
Well, when we get around to finally renovating our dining room, I want something like that. Ooh. With some gold in it.
Yeah, I wanted it to look smart and soothing. Two things that I am not. So, yeah.
I'm so impressed. Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, you're here. I spared no expense in getting Keri Smith here. No, she just happened to be in New York City. And I was like, please come to the studio. And Filthy, shout out to producer Filthy, he was telling us before the show that we have all the same fans and I guess haters. He was like, yeah. He said, Keri, you're loved by the Chrissie Mayr community.
Yeah. I said, and also hated. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I do. Lately, when we were talking about, we just had some pizza. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about stuff.
So if you smell it, chat, that's why.
And she was like, what could we talk about? And I said, well, if we talk about the so-called woke right stuff, there will be some people who get upset. Just know that. And she said, that's okay. We can talk about that.
Why does that make people upset?
Well, I think for a couple reasons. There are some people who just don't like the phrase. They understand what's being described, but they don't like the phrase tactically, which I understand.
It's a leftist, woke is a leftist word.
Right. And I'm kind of in that group because the phrase, I feel like we just got to a place where normies understand what woke is. And if you're introducing now this whole idea of a woke right, that can be very confusing for people. And you might weaken the effectiveness of the word in describing the left, right? Yeah. So I get that complaint about it completely. But then there are some people who think that the group that it's describing or the ideology that it's describing doesn't even exist. And so they get very angry. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the woke, how mad they get, where they're like, that's not a thing. Why don't you define it? Like, you can't even define it. I'm like,
the
okay.
word woke, I mean, I don't know if I would call it the same thing because the woke right, it's an essentially, maybe would you call them like fundamentalists or would you call them more like Christian conservatives?
The woke right?
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason the term is taken off, well, first of all, James Lindsay definitely has popularized the term online. And so a lot of people want to hate on him if you even bring up this growing ideology, this growing resentment and stuff that is masquerading, in my opinion, masquerading as being on the right. If you even want to talk about it, they want to talk about him. And they want to take pot shots at him.
I've noticed so much James Lindsay hate, but I don't quite understand where it came from because I'm like, I love James Lindsay. He's been on the show a bunch of times. I think he's a really smart guy. He's been dead on about so much, and I think he's a great thinker. So I don't know. I'm just like, I need this to be explained to me like I'm retarded.
Okay. So there are people. People say, why don't you just call them what they are? Why don't you call them white supremacists? Why don't you call them grapers? Why don't you call them anti-Semites? Why don't you call them all these? Because I think right now, woke right, if you use that phrase, woke right, it sort of encompasses all of that because there's different kinds. But basically, I'll lay it out for you and then chat can decide if they disagree or if they have comments.
Right, and how is it different from far right?
It's probably what used to be called the far right. But here's some things they have in common. Like ideology-wise. I'm not talking about tactics. We can talk about that later. But in terms of what they believe, they are similar to the woke left in some ways. They believe, just like the woke, that we should judge and treat people differently based on what race they are, based on their sex,
Whether they have sex or not.
Whether they have sex or not, yes, some of them. But they will say things like, it's so funny because think about this. You guys, if you've interacted with the woke before, they'll say stuff like, if you're a man, you don't get to have an opinion.
You don't have a uterus. You don't need to be in this conversation.
They'll say, shut your mouth, sit down, shut up and listen to women. You don't get to have an opinion. You have male privilege,
And then you listen to women and you're like, oh God, why did she say that?
So the people who are being called woke right, they do something similar, and they'll say, women shouldn't be heard from, and women shouldn't, and they just go. They actually remind me a lot of feminists, like hardcore feminists, but they're put men up here and women down here. It's like you're doing the same thing, the same retarded thing.
Like you're a woman, like your point of view is discarded, or I don't know. Yeah. Is that what it is?
Some of it's
like
that.
If you're a working gal,
but it's also the race thing. They do the race thing too. They say. So, the woke will say, well, if you're a white person, you need to sit down and shut up and check your white privilege. And you shouldn't, you don't get to have an opinion on what racism is and blah, blah, blah. Well, they will do the same thing about race. They'll say that
sit down
black
and eat
people
our
need to shut up.
unseasoned chicken. We have to sit down and eat our watery coleslaw, our bologna
our tuna noodle casserole.
Yes, bologna on white. What else is white people food?
I think tuna noodle casserole is the epitome.
I was raised on noodles and butter.
There you go.
Mayonnaise?
Yes, with mayonnaise. God, I start a product line. Stat. Write that down, intern. We have an intern here. I've never been happier.
But so I just see some of these similar things happening, and it kind of is like, wait a minute, are you becoming the monster you're fighting? Are you becoming the thing that you hate, where you're just sort of going over to this other extreme? And now, then I will sometimes hear people say, well, these people like Nick Fuentes and the Groypers and all these people are bots, or they're feds, or some of them think Nick Fuentes is some kind of paid operative because, January 6th, he was on camera with a bullhorn telling people to go inside, and like
I walked past him. He was there. I remember he was like, he and a bunch of his homies were standing on this statue, like yelling at people. With a horn.
He was like, go inside. Well, people that worked under him said he turned all these people in. He doesn't. The thing about him is, I think some of them are paid. I think some of them are ops. Like they are.
Well, when we learned about how many feds were just involved with January 6th to begin with, it had to have been. What did they say? 75, which means it had to have been a couple hundred.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they're not going to give you.
There was
real
like
number.
1 million people there that day, so it was a lot. Yeah.
So some of them, I think, are like total phonies and frauds, and they're there to help the woke left by providing this sort of boogeyman of the thing that the woke left pretended always existed. They get to be that boogeyman, and I think they work hand in hand. But a lot of the followers are sincere. Like a lot of the people online that I've encountered on X and stuff anyway, they seem to be sincere. They're like really believing some of this crap and like falling for this crap. And if you think about it, like I was thinking about in the woke left, why was that appealing to people? Why was that whole ideology? It preyed on resentment. Like it grew resentment in people. Like why not me? And my race is put upon, and my sex is put upon, my identity, blah, blah, blah. Well, a lot of these guys who are preaching this stuff now on the right, I'm going to put that in quotes, they're preaching the same crap. They're like, you're put upon, the white race is put upon, why not me? Why not me?
But there has been so much anti-white racism in the last, 15 years. It's been pretty steady.
Yes. And that's why I think
probably
it's appealing.
Longer. Yeah.
Because then it's sort of, but at the end of the day, it doesn't reject woke ideology. It accepts it and then says, all we're going to do is flip what groups are on top. Instead of rejecting all of it outright and saying, guess what? Collectivism sucks.
Do people know how to do that? Like, I feel like all people know how to do is to switch who's on top because it's a two-party system. Your guy won or your guy lost. And it's like, that's how it goes until the next election, really. It's just seems it's going to be polarized either way. It's I don't know. I just feel like the last really 20 years since, I guess, Obama, it seemed like every election has been, it's
more like the political space is become more hateful. I mean, you can't even talk to people. He was the most
divisive president for sure.
Yeah, like on the left right now, it is very hard to talk to people, in my experience, who are on the left without them if they find out you voted for Trump, like even if they see like a funny Trump shirt like this, without them getting mad and assuming all kinds of things about you.
At an event and there was a woman talking to you like, God, I don't know what we're going to do about these MAGA people. And you were like, I'm one of them. And she was like, oh.
Well, she was actually pretty cool, but she was talking as if, I think sometimes they assume, like if they like you, they assume that you think the same. And so that's always, I find those kind of conversations cool, because then you can challenge maybe what somebody thinks about a Trump voter or whatever, you know, like, and we're like, oh, guess what? I am one. Like our friend Mike Harlow, he's like, coming out as conservative was like so much harder than coming out as gay, right?
Yeah.
Like coming out as conservative, like you lose friends and people cut you off and they think all this crazy stuff about you. And
yeah. Especially among those gays, they're unforgiving.
Right.
So.
But yeah, I just think right now here, I think we're in a season of a great unveiling, where a great revealing, where you're starting to learn a lot of these people. Like when I first came out of the woke world, like 8 or 9 years ago, I started following everyone. I wanted to hear all different opinions. I had been in a cult for so long, this echo chamber. So I was like, I'm going to hear what everybody thinks about stuff. And now I'm at the place where
How did you do that?
I followed way too many people online. Now I can't see people's stuff in my feed because I followed thousands of people. But I'll tell you, I'm whittling it down, because I'm like, oh my gosh, Jake Shields is a total dumbass and a fucking hater.
I've heard his name. So was he a wrestler or something?
Something
MMA?
kind of MMA or
Okay.
something. And then he said a lot of things that were right on that I agreed with during the COVID years. He was against a lot of the COVID policy, which I was too. But now, I mean, he's tweeting stuff about how, how could you not become an anti-Semite? He just tweeted this in seriousness.
What?
He just said this.
Oh boy.
And how could we not all arrive at this place? And how could you not become? And he admitted, by the way, that he's like, I'm not a Christian, but I say Christ is king just to piss off the Jews. And I'm like, okay, that's what some of us have been saying, is that you're using the phrase dishonestly. You're trying to pervert the word of God. Like you're trying to make a mockery of God and use that phrase to mean something else. And you're not even Christian when you say it. Like,
is this okay? Fealty is pulling up Jake Shields' Twitter.
Oh my gosh. He's like one of these Groyper adjacent guys.
There's too many.
Yeah. Are we going to look at a Jake Shields?
How long ago was it that he said that?
Which one?
The about becoming anti.
But now we're looking at Suleiman.
Oh,
Who's
in the
that?
past day or two here. I'll send it to you,
Suleiman.
Fealty.
Well, because this is what the account popped up when I saw this.
Oh,
Jake
Shields.
Shields.
I'm not a Christian. I believe my daughters shouldn't.
Oh,
have
he
to
was
compete
replying
against
to
men.
Jake. That's my fault.
I can respect if you don't want your daughters playing sports, but I have zero tolerance for men and women's sports. I would agree with that too.
Right. But then he says, Christ is king and you are a faggot.
Who specifically is he saying this?
He said that to James Lindsay.
Oh boy.
But then today or yesterday, he came out and admitted and did a separate tweet where he says, no, I'm not a Christian. I just say Christ is king to piss off the Jews. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of what people were saying, is that some people use that phrase in a disingenuous way, and that's actually taking the Lord's name in vain, because you're using it to say something.
Yeah, why
else.
would you bring that up? There's something kind of like performative about that. Like your relationship with God is personal, and you shouldn't be using God's name or
There it is. Look at that one. Philabonte retweeted it.
Trigger people. I've always been clear. I'm not a Christian. I use Christ as king because it makes Jews and grifters like Lindsay angry. That just to me sounds like a guy trying to sound tough.
Yeah.
And rake in the likes.
Right now,
I'm not
I think
impressed
it's
with this person.
very popular on X to say stuff just to say stuff like about like right now they do the same thing the woke do, where the woke would just point to your race or your sex or whatever to not talk to you. They'll do the same thing. They'll come in my comments and say you are Jewish. And I'm like,
oh,
first
people
of
have been calling me Jewish for years.
And it's like, okay, loser. But I mean,
and I'm like, how many pictures of my nose from how many different angles can I post on here? You know?
I know.
Wow, we've got a couple super chats already from K Max. Oh my gosh, what's up, homie? Thanks for the pink boy. Can a white identity ever be positive and allowed? I see all other races talk pride, and it's not called hatred or criminal. Oh God, it's moving up. It's not called hatred or criminal. Communities do form based on race, religion, and language, but race is a part. Hard not to respond to all the hatred towards us. I agree with K Max.
Yeah, that's also why it's see, part of what I mean about like it doesn't reject woke is that it doesn't. It says, okay, I guess this is the way things are. So now we're going to develop all this stuff for white people, white pride, white this, white that. I saw one of these guys today did a video talking about, and it's supposedly on the right, and he's like, well, I guess I am. I mean, basically saying socialized medicine's okay for white people. I saw another one of these guys in my comments arguing for white reparations for white people, and or what he calls heritage Americans. That's a new phrase they've come up with to mean white people.
White reparations be just like a sturdy, like Ford in the driveway, just 10 years old, nothing crazy. Everyone gets a Ford Focus.
This guy wanted a check. And the thing is, like, I think the ideal is that you're at a place where you don't listen to any of the crap about white privilege or white fragility or none of that nonsense that tries to make you feel white guilt or some kind of shit. Like, I don't have anything to do with what people who had the same skin color as me did. I don't have any more than a black person does or any person. So it's to a place of ignoring all that crap without accepting their premise and saying, okay, now I'm going to have to start to really be all about the white pride. Like somebody told me I'm dishonoring my white race.
How?
Because
you're wearing cowboy boots. You've got a cowboy hat on. I saw you eat a slice of pizza earlier. Come on.
These are all white people things.
Yeah. Are you paying your taxes this year? That's a white person thing.
Yeah. And I encourage my husband to round up so we can help the government. I'm kidding.
Yeah, you had a Topo Chico, although that's a little bit Latinx, right?
Latinx.
I always thought that was like a white thing.
Oh, true. Right. Well, Topo Chico.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's a Spanish
Hispanic
kind of sounding name, but I think it's only
But the
drank by
whites
white
have really
people,
taken it over.
right? Like a quesadilla.
Yeah.
Okay. Quackadilla.
Like a frappuccino.
You don't go to Mexico.
But I mean that comment is I don't have any beef with that at all. But I'm just saying that's kind of at the place we're at, where especially I think a lot of young men. Listen, if you're a young white guy, you've grown up with knowing nothing but woke ideology,
Feeling bad about yourself.
And it demonizes men, and it demonizes white people and Asian people to some extent. And so you've grown up with that, and now there's this other extreme that's saying, hey, we're going to accept collectivism instead of individualism. We're going to accept authoritarianism instead of liberty, but we're going to put your identity groups at the top of the food pyramid. And I think that's very attractive for a reason. But I think they're pulling people down it's just as dark of a path as the woke crap.
It's the natural kind of pendulum swinging back when for so long, in the grand history of things, no, but in our the history of each of our lives, it seems like white racism has been really kind of beaten into us steadily last 15, 20 years. So what's the natural reaction to that? Well, hey, we're not so bad. We're doing our best. Yeah. White pride. How about, could we be on top for once? And then the people who believe that racism is a real thing go, well, you've been on top since forever. We can't have it. What do we do other than everyone just exchanging turns, being on top, whatever that means, whatever that looks like?
I mean, my answer is going to sound cheesy, but I think the answer is Jesus.
The answer is Jesus.
I think the answer is
every question. Yeah.
And look, this is why lately, if you are talking about this stuff, I got the woke people have been mad at me for 8 or 9 years. So the woke left people, so they will hear all of this and they will be mad because they're like, what are you talking about? White people aren't demonized. They're in la la land. Or they're like, what are you talking about? Men aren't demonized. They're in total la la land. But then now I've got these people who are being lumped in, I guess, with the woke right, who are mad, who are like, why can't we ever be on top? That kind of thing. And it's if both sides or whatever mad at you, so okay, whatever. I'm still going to say what I think is true. I mean, that's all I can do. So I think another issue is that, like we were talking upstairs, we were eating, the woke left is still much more powerful. They own everything. They
and
own
violent.
Yes, and violent and all these things. It's and so people will say, well, you're making a mountain out of a molehill because like the woke left, they control politics and entertainment and media and they have all this powerful influence. Yeah, fashion. And that's true. But I remember back before woke went mainstream, when people were noticing it, and we were told the same thing, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Back then they said, oh, this is just online. This whole woke ideology, white privilege, and check your male privilege and all this stuff is just online. Don't worry about it. It's not in the mainstream.
Until they mandated pronouns at corporate jobs, until they mandated like corporate training, like racism training. I remember all that shit I had to do.
And then once it hit mainstream, it went fast, right? Like a wildfire. It spread through everything, and it became the dominant religion. And so I don't know if woke right could ever spread like that. I don't know. But I do think what might be more realistic and also awful is if woke right is used to justify more woke left shit. Because woke left is like, look, see, here's the boogeyman we've been telling you exists that didn't used to exist. Oh, here it is now. And now we have to crack down on,
God, I wonder if like the powers that be are sort of, because as you're talking, I'm thinking I would really hate for Christianity to be pegged as a woke right thing.
That's what they're trying to do.
It's almost like, yeah, exactly. The powers that be, if that's their goal, I could see it going that way to truly put a stigma on Christianity.
I think, well, that's one of the predictions or things that James Lindsay has been warning about for a while. And why he gets so much hatred is because he's an atheist who's warning about these things. But he's like, hey, I mean, a couple years ago, I remember him saying they're going to try and paint all of Christianity as white supremacists, ethno-nationalism. And now you've got actual, so I don't know if your listeners have heard of this, but there's actual white nationalist so-called Christian podcasts that have a pretty popular audience grow. Like there's one
like this one. No.
There's one called Stone Choir. Okay, and this guy, the co-host, Keri Mayr, he was tweeting the other day that black people are not human, that they're like, and he's not joking. And they're,
my God.
And he's like, we're Christians and we're based. And the thing about his podcast is I listened to some of it because I was like, what are all these guys listening to? Okay, now here's the thing. Just like any snake oil salesman, there's a lot of truth in there. He says a lot of things that are true about men and masculinity, positive things, right? And things about the crazy woke state of the world we're in. And so you're listening and it's truth. And then some poison mixed in, and truth. And then some poison mixed in. And so I don't know. That's like, it's concerning that I know people now who are starting to say, like this guy that I really respect, Mick Olson. I just interviewed this guy. He's a Christian writer. He was like, I know guys in real life who are falling into this woke right stuff, and it's similar to the woke left in that it is culty and they like cut off contact with you. He's like, he has friends who cut off contact with him.
Wow.
Now that they're in this stuff. And that's what woke left was like.
And they are taking advantage of people who feel like they have been beaten down, like who they are. I'm particularly, I would feel like a type of like white guys, if they feel like they've been truly beaten down.
And they have been.
From all angles. And they're looking for somebody to give them hope. I would say the overarching theme is like, just watch who you're kind of following and idolizing and who your leaders are.
Be discerning. I mean, there's scripture about this, like, be wise as serpents, but be gentle as doves. Like, have your eyes wide open and be discerning. And I'm learning that lesson in real time. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, some of these people I developed respect for during the COVID years or whatever. Now I learn more about them. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think I'm going to be promoting that person anymore or like retweeting their stuff anymore. Cause now it's all like Candace Owens. It's all like the Jews did 9/11. And I'm like,
first of all, that's some Jews did 9/11. Let's not lump them all together. Are we showing this picture of,
Sure, now we are.
I'm not saying it's the Jews, but it's the Jews in this picture of Candace Owens. And who is that?
That's Carroll.
Carroll. Well, I don't understand who Ian Carroll is. I know I'm very behind, but it's because I'm a new mom.
She actually just released an episode interviewing him like a few hours ago.
Oh,
so that must be why.
So go listen to that, everyone. Wow, is that her house? Look how nice it is. That's how you can tell she has money. Like, look at all the clean glasses behind her.
Clean glasses.
Oh my goodness, a white Stanley in the background. Somebody's doing well.
he has a.
I thought you were talking about person.
He kind of came out of nowhere, but he does a lot of these sort of TikTok. I feel like an old person saying, but you look like the TikTok videos where they're like right up in your face, and he does these sort of conspiratorial,
Okay.
and they have a lot of overlap in the stuff they talk about, like the Jews. And so I guess who did that tweet that you pulled up?
This was Conceptual James.
Oh yeah. So I guess he's kind of pointing out this is probably what their whole episode's about. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I caught her in one of her videos when people have been telling me, she's saying a lot of questionable stuff lately. And I watched this clip that got shared where she was saying things that were factually untrue that you could easily go. And I'm like, she has a whole writing staff. Like, they would have caught this. So all I can conclude is that she knew she was saying untrue things. She was saying that on 9/11, there was this Jewish company that got a warrant. She called it a warning in advance. And that they told all the Jews and they left, so they weren't there when they
didn't left. They slept.
They slept. But first of all, that company she was talking about wasn't in New York. She made it sound like it was in New York. It was in Israel. Okay.
Oh.
And second
then
of all,
they needed a big heads up to get back there.
Second of all, they didn't get a heads up. They got a piece of. It was a hate mail that was like, we're basically something like, we're going to do blah, blah, blah. We're going to do 9/11 or whatever. No, but it wasn't specific to the World Trade Center or anything. And it came in like an hour and 45 minutes before the attacks, but they turned it over because they were like, we got this hate mail before the attacks. So she made it sound like a Jewish company in New York was given advance warning and Jews therefore left. It wasn't in New York. Second, they weren't given advance warning. Third, how are they supposed to know what this hate mail means? Like, you could probably get hate mail all the time. Do you call the FBI and go, I got a piece of hate mail, alert the World Trade Center? Like, she was like, they didn't do anything with this info. Well, it didn't mention anything.
Right. I keep a stack of hate mail here at the studio, and I go through it when I feel like I'm getting too good at everything. Yeah.
I get hate mail. I'm like,
keeps you humble. Yep. There's got to be some constructive criticism in here. Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Come and get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.